Shalom! Welcome to this week's Dvar Torah. This is a special one for me. This is my 200th video that I've recorded, and I hope you enjoy this Dvar Torah. It's a little different than the ones that we usually do. This, of course, is this week's Sedra Pinchas, and we'll be learning about just a fascinating comparison from this week's Sedra. Fair division is a mathematical theory based on an idealization of a real-life problem. The real-life problem is the one of dividing goods or resources fairly between people, the players who have an entitlement to these resources. The central tenet of fair division is that such a division should be performed by the players, the people involved themselves. Maybe using a mediator, but certainly not an arbiter, as only the players really know how they value the goods. While this mathematical theory holds that an arbiter cannot fairly divide resources between people, there are case studies that disagree. In this Dvar Torah, I like to examine one of those case studies. And where does it take place? You guessed it, in our Sedra. In our Sedra, we find the land of Israel split among the Jewish people, and it doesn't seem equitable at all. I'd like to explain the Torah's view of fair division. I hope the reader and the viewer sees the limitations of colloquial fairness and the logic of God's ideal of fair division. Fair division, also known as the cake-cutting problem, is the problem of dividing a resource in such a way that all recipients believe that they have received a fair amount. The problem is easier when recipients have different measures of value of the parts of the resource. In the cake-cutting version, if we use that example, one recipient may like marzipan, another prefers cherries, and so on. Then and only then, the blank amount of recipients may get even more than what would be the equal amount or the value of the cake for each of them. On the other hand, the presence of different measures opens a vast potential for many challenging questions and directions for further research. There are a number of variants of the problem. The definition of fair may simply mean that they get at least their fair proportion, or harder requirements like envy-freeness may also need to be satisfied. The theoretical algorithms mainly deal with goods that can be divided without losing value. Most of what is normally called a fair division is not considered so by the theory because of the use of arbitration. There are a number of widely used criteria for fair division. Well, I'm just going to list one of them. A proportional simple fair division guarantees that each person, each player in our example, gets his fair share. For instance, if 3 people divide up a cake, each gets at least a third by their own valuation. But here's the variation that we're going to look at in our Sedra. When it comes to the division of Eretz Yisrael, Hashem did not use the fair division theory. In fact, the Torah uses a completely different theory of dividing the greatest resource, the land of Israel. As it records in our Sedra, and I'll quote you the pasuk, "To the more you shall give more inheritance, and to the fewer you shall give the less inheritance." The Torah approach clearly violates the principle that everyone gets his fair proportional share. We can well imagine that the sages were none too happy watching their brethren get bigger, more resource-rich land. Complaints were registered. So why didn't Hashem give equal amounts to each tribe? The Torah never equates fairness with even-handedness. It's an important point to recognize. Fair means each party gets what they deserve, not what they desire based on the lot of their neighbor. Allotment by merit is the Torah's ideal of fair division. Merit-based division extends well past land division. We see its manifestations in everything from prayer to leadership. It is a concept well worth integrating into our personal philosophies. I hope that this Dvar Torah was clear. I hope you enjoyed it. And if not, listen to it or watch it again. It's tremendously fascinating to see how Kadosh Baruch Hu divided up the land of Israel versus how we might construe what fair division is. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks again for watching.